Okay, so this needs to be said. Longevity of your camera. I don't know if you know what it costs to replace the sensor on your camera, but it's a lot of money. You might as well just throw the camera away or sell it for parts. Now, this used to be the case with old film cameras. You know, you protect the lens, you keep the cap on your lens, right? Yeah, you know, also to prevent, like some of the older film cameras, the shutter blades were not super tight, so unless you wanted to take a picture, you kept the cap on your camera. Now, this is also the case with mirrorless. There are dies that actually sit over the actual photo sites, and those can be bleached. Yes, you see, like in a regular DSLR, here's one huge advantage of a DSLR over a mirrorless camera. I don't know if you've considered this or not, but unless you're taking a picture, your sensor is not exposed. And unlike a DSLR, everything has an advantage and disadvantage, right? Unlike a DSLR mirrorless camera, yeah, your sensor is exposed. Period. You know, you got the you're walking in Disneyland, you know, you got your camera on your shoulder, and it's kind of like pointed down. I don't know if it's pointed at the horizon, or care if it's pointed, you know, down at the pavement, which is about this color, but a lot higher reflectance. That means that your sensor is getting constant exposure. Yeah, and you know that there are dyes over top of those photo sites. You know, RGB, red, green, blue. Yeah, do you know what happens to those when they're... Yeah. Keep your lens caps on your mirrorless cameras. You know, if you're going to be walking, or like, I'm going to take a hike in the woods, I'm going to bring my so-and-so camera, but I'm going to put the lens hood on it because, you know, twigs or whatever could hit it. And, you know, I don't care if you use a filter or not. This has nothing to do with a filter. Protecting the lens. We're not talking about protecting the lens, now we're talking about protecting the sensor. Well, you know, I got a lens hood on my camera. You know, I'm going to pack it through the woods. Realistically, how much of an issue is this? Well, if you want the camera to survive significantly past 6+ years, and you are an outdoor shooter or an event photographer, keep it, you know. I'm not saying, you know, only take your lens cap off, you're about to take it. Just sensibility here. You know, I'm going to be hiking through the woods for a few hours, or I'm going to be out, you know, doing photojournalism on the streets, and you got a second camera, and you're walking. Keep your lens cap on your camera unless you know that you're, you know, something close to taking a picture. Your sensor is constantly exposed on a mirrorless camera. And yes, you know, the same reason that people get burned in and permanently, their sensor is destroyed. People send me images like, did you do a time exposure of a sunset? Yeah, I did. How did you know that? There's like this bright circular spot on all my images, and yeah, your sensor's destroyed. That's a time exposure. Now consider the lens cap off of your camera. Well, you got a lens hood on it. Okay, I'm protecting the lens. But, you know, it's on your shoulder, and it's pointed out here at the horizon as you're hiking down, I don't know, whatever the hell you're doing. Or down at the pavement, the concrete. There is constantly light hitting that sensor. UV is hitting it. UVA, UVB, the light's passing through there. It's going to start bleaching the dyes. We're talking about longevity. It's like, well, you know, who lives longer? You got twin sisters. One's a smoker, and you know, they're both going to live plenty long enough till like the next camera comes along, and then you ditch it. But what if you actually buy a really awesome mirrorless camera and you want it to keep working? You know, like say 10 years down the road, like a Nikon D3, for example. You know, Nikon D3 came out in 2008. I got 4 of those. 2008, yeah, so it's 10 years later. DSLR advantage, the sensor is never exposed unless it's actually being exposed. Mirrorless is just the opposite. The sensor is always exposed. Yeah, and every digital sensor, CMOS, even CCD, has susceptibility to bleaching the dyes, the RGBW dyes that cover those photo sites. And then right now, mirrorless is relatively new, digital mirrorless. Not mirrorless technically, but digital mirrorless is. You know, about 6 years from now, when the mirrorless starts aging, and it's like, you know, this camera doesn't seem like color shift. It's like, Yeah, those dyes that sit over top of your sensor have been bleached. Yeah, I did a lot of packing with this camera out in the sun. You know, I'd have it slung over my shoulder. I was always ready to take a bit. Ultimately, it's like, well, yeah, you got 8 years, 9 years life out of the camera. Yeah, but don't you want it to last as long as possible? Keep the damn lens cap on your camera. I'm not saying be anal about it. Oh my God, I'm about to take a picture. It's time to take the lens. No, I'm just saying, don't scuttlebutt around, bebop down the street, with your camera pointing down at the bright white pavement as the sun is beating down and reflecting off that pavement into your sensor, because it is bleaching the dyes that sit over top of your sensor. And so I am and are the first and only person to make a video on this topic. Is it very important? No. Did you learn something? You should have. Is it the truth? Yes, it's the truth. Is anybody else talking about this? No, they're not, because they really don't know anything about how the hell cameras work. Unlike me. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, you can drop me a buck or two. Tell me to jump off a cliff. Whatever makes you happy. I love Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee. If anybody has any Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee. Just kidding. Totally not kidding, actually. Thank you so much. I mowed the grass today. My drain is stopped up. I gotta call a plumber. I got an exciting life. I was sweating my ass off outside, trimming the hedges and mowing the grass. I go to take a shower. It's like, oh, lucky me. The drain is stopped up. I lead a life of luxury. No, I don't. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.